Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment and welcome to Maconi Setup Shop's monthly money race. Tonight's broadcast is, of course, being brought to you tonight on Maconi Entertainment, here to bring all of the action to life. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Kirk Mills, and in the virtual production hall, we have Howie Burrows. Tonight, we're here to give out some prizes and put on a really good race in the process. We've got some NASCAR trucks running on the old version of Atlanta Motor Speedway tonight, and I have a feeling that we're in for a heck of a lot of fun this evening. This track, storied in the world of NASCAR, opened all the way back in 1960, and despite this track getting a big refresh a couple of years ago, we're running on the version of this track as it was back in 2008, which for a lot of race fans is probably the best version of Atlanta Motor Speedway. This track is fun. It's put on some brilliant racing, and I have a feeling, Kirk, that tonight with this monthly money Fast Fridays race, it's going to be no different.
Absolutely. One of the best parts about Atlanta is it is a tire killer. When you go out there, it doesn't matter how many laps you turn. Even after just one lap, your tires are shot. So it's a lot of very grippy in terms of the asphalt. The thing just rips tires to shreds. So we're going to see a lot of cars go out here, and they're going to end up getting really loose really quick. The cars are currently on track qualifying, and we see a lot of guys that are already fast. Michael Curran, Alexander Ortega, a few other guys that are up front with a good old lap time of 30.2s. But I think they're going to be the two to watch here tonight. But you can see here in Atlanta, no matter what, we're going to be able to see something that will show that the true best drivers in the field always rise their way to the top of the field at Atlanta.
The cream is going to rise to the top in this 80-lap race that we have coming up for you this evening on Maconi Entertainment. Thank you to all of you deciding to tune into this broadcast tonight, and we hope you enjoy tonight's broadcast. But running around Atlanta, 80 laps in front of us for these drivers in the NASCAR trucks. We've got unlimited tire sets for these drivers, which around this track that you mentioned a couple of moments ago, Kirk, kind of acts like a cheese grater on some of these tires. These drivers certainly going to use a one faster pair allowed for these drivers, so clearly the dosage of Red Bull allowed to the mechanics being limited for this race, and a fixed setup as well, going to create a very close pack in this race that we have coming up. This is going to be a good one around this track. This version of Atlanta Motor Speedway first raced on back in 1997, that race being won by Jeff Gordon all the way back then, of course being changed back in 2022, but still Atlanta Motor Speedway, an absolutely wonderful oval in the world of NASCAR and the world of American motorsports as well. But coming into this broadcast, we have a lot of things to look forward to. 80 laps of racing action certainly being one of them. We'll be able to get that starting grid loaded up for you in just a couple of moments' time and crack our knuckles for what's going to be a brilliant evening of racing action here on Maconi Entertainment. 80 laps that has a lot of challenges baked into it, and now let's take a look at the starting grid. Grabbing the pole for this race, setting a 30.284 is going to be Michael Curran. We're going to have Alexander Ortega join him on the front row. Starting this race in P2 and P3 and P4, I should say, is going to be the boss man himself, Jeffrey Maconi, in the 03 car, and Nelson Rivera starting in fourth. Looking at the drivers we have starting right behind them, we're going to have the fifth place starter of Dexton Dewey's in the number 41 car. He's going to be joined on the third row by Winnie Tigner. Looking at this, we're coming now to the fourth row of this starting grid. We have an Nathan Ferrata starting in seventh, and Carter Casey in the number 92 car starting in eighth. And rounding out your top 10 on that fifth row, we are going to have the ninth place starter of Logan Wilson and Ryle Kilshaban rounding out your top 10.
Starting in the 11th place spot will be Justin Bird, and to their outside will be Jeremy Briggs from New York. Starting in the 13th place position will be Trenton Johns. To his outside will be Jax Duvall. Following that, in the 15th place spot, it will be David Ime. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that last name. That's an interesting one. Terry Henry is going to be on his outside for 16th. Liam Nolan's going to be starting on the inside of that 17th position. And on the 18th, his outside is Johnny Poston. And with 19th going to be Jacob Morrissey and Elrich George to his outside, rounding out your top 20.
And then looking at the drivers that we have starting outside the top 20, it starts with Justin Osterman in the number 38 car starting in 21st. Stephen McGough will start this race in the number 83 car right alongside. It's Brendan Argenio, I believe would be the correct pronunciation of the driver, the number 88 truck. He's going to be starting in 23rd. Next to Jenny Flowers in 24th. Starting this race in P25 is going to be John Strapp. Amy Crawford going to join him on that 13th row. And starting right behind them in 27th is going to be Brandon Burkhardt in the number 24 car. He will start alongside Roderick Norman. Those two drivers going to occupy the 14th row of this starting grid. And rounding out your top 30 will be Tobias Matheson in the number 75 truck and Colton Kraft in the number 15.
All right, and we only got a few more drivers here on the grid. We got Ben Gottschalk on the inside of starting 31st. 32nd will be James Johns, and starting in the 33rd position is going to be Matthew Powers, and to his outside will be Michael Rice. That rounds out all the drivers who have chose to run a lap here at Atlanta. As you can see, cars are on track now for the 10-minute warm-up. They got about 3 minutes through, and I think that the main contenders we want to watch here tonight are the top three. They are all very close, within just half of a hundredth of a second there. Michael Curran, Alexander Ortega, and Jeffrey Maconi. Those are the three that I have my eyes on. What do you think?
I feel like I'd be kind of screwing myself over a little bit if we didn't talk about the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi. Starting this race in third, he's certainly going to be a driver to keep our eyes out for in this 80-lap race that we have coming up. But got some hard chargers all throughout this field as well, and really expecting this race to be intense. Actually, I will note that as it stands currently in this warm-up session, it's Nathan Farada in the 09 truck who's currently the fastest in this warm-up session. That we're coming up to the halfway mark of. Actually, I believe Race Control just decided to throw the checkered flag in. And so right as I was going to say that we were coming up to the halfway mark, I think they decided to can this session a little bit early. You can see that this version of the track a little bit older based off the fact we still got some patches of concrete barriers now. Higher banks, the safer barriers practically everywhere around here. And Atlanta still an absolutely wonderful racetrack. I was actually mentioning to the gentleman that I have the privilege of being on this broadcast with this evening about the fact that this is my third broadcast of a race in Georgia in the span of the past 3 days. So I feel like if I do any more of these, I'll be able to give all of the tourist spots in terms of where to go around Atlanta. I feel like I'm getting stir crazy staying in Georgia this long.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's about time we move on. Let's go to a new track. This track is starting to get a little old, but I'm sure not this old one. We haven't really run this one quite yet. But with it being the Atlanta weekend's just over, we got the starting grid going to be running across your screen as we're all gridding on the field here. I think it's going to be really interesting because a lot of cars are going to be loose. They're going to be sideways trying to hang on to the car. We saw a lot of incidents in the practice, but then again, it's not necessarily to be driving at your 100% best or in practice, so who knows? Maybe they have a secret up their sleeves. We got a large field here today, and it looks like that we are going to have a great run as the pace car starts to roll. Here we go.
Again, this pace lap underway. These trucks trying to get their bearings straight in this formation lap. That's the thing when it comes to these formation laps. It feels like it takes a million years. Yet at the same time, for some of these drivers, it feels like there's no time at all to really get themselves into the right frame of mind to tackle this race. In this 80-lap race that we have coming up, these drivers are going to be fighting for a lot. $150 and a 1 meter tall trophy up for grabs for the drivers who just so happen to do well here tonight. So lots of stakes for these drivers and lots of different sections of this racetrack. They're going to catch these drivers out. The high banks of Atlanta, it may not seem like much. It may just seem like your standard cookie cutter oval, but Atlanta was one of the first of those ovals, originally redesigned back in 1997, opened all the way back in 1960. The back straightaway that you see right now used to be the start-finish straightaway for anyone who wants a little bit of history about this wonderful venue. But here in the trucks running on this version of the track, SK, again by iRacing back in 2008. We have got a good race for you on Maconi Entertainment this evening. We welcome to all of you tuning into this broadcast, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's racing action. Waiting for that pace car to go down pit lane. The field now going to be the hands of our front row sitters, waiting for that green flag to come out, which it has now, and the drivers are on their way, heading through that quad oval down into turn at number 1. Gonna be an even keel start with both of our front row sitters. Most of the field already jockeying for position. Look at Jeff Maconi in the 03 truck trying to get some moves done on the inside line, but the field is still packed together. Heading through turn number 1, jumping into the lead of the race very early on is going to be Michael Curran.
Somehow Michael Curran was able to clear the outside line. That puts him up to the front, but the battle for second is still on. Jeffrey's getting a little loose on the bottom. He's trying to hang on to it. He does. He's driving the wheels off that dang thing, but that makes the outside line prevail, and guess what? He's dropping back. He loses 2 spots just like that. Nelson Riviera moves up to the 3rd place spot with Alexander Ortega holding that bottom line, taking on the 2nd place spot. They are racing pretty good here. I don't see anybody doing anything out of line. I think they just realize, hey, got 80 laps, don't need to push it. We're trying to go for the big money here. What are we going to do? We got to be able to stay in line, race hard, and somehow, bring home the trophy at the end of the day. And a 1 meter trophy, yeah, sure, that's three something feet. That's the right way to put it. It's just what it is. I don't like meters, but we got a battle now for the, let's see, what is that? That is the 3rd place spot to the outside, up against the wall. Maconi's trying to get by the 22 of Riviera. Oh, he almost got squeezed into the wall. That was the Alexander Ortega machine almost squeezing Maconi up into the wall.
Yeah, that could have ended an absolute disaster heading down the back straightaway a couple of moments ago, but Maconi in that 03 truck still trying to wheel it around the outside on Alexander Ortega, heading on to complete the 3rd lap of this race. Here we go, close quarters racing, heading down into turn number 1. These drivers risking it for the biscuit very early on. Maconi and Ortega still side by side coming out of the corner. Look at that, Maconi making contact being made as well with the wall, ending up in that concrete barrier. That, I believe, is Ferrata in the 09 truck, the fastest driver in the warm-up session earlier on, scraping the wall on the outskirts of turn number 1 and 2.
Battle for the lead. Here comes Maconi, I believe, down to the inside. He's side by side for the lead, heading down into the corner. It looks like that the outside line's trying to make it stick, but I don't think it will. We have a car coming out of the pits, but nothing that's going to stop him here. He tries to pull up. Nope. 26 makes a move down to the bottom. That's Michael Curran. Again, those two are battling pretty hard for that position, but guess what? Here comes 3rd place. That's Alexander Ortega trying to join this fight, and he gets shoved up the hill by well, who is that? How do you pronounce that name? Nathan Ferrara? How would you pronounce that one, man? That guy has an interesting name, to say the least.
Yeah, I guess it's an Nathan Ferrata. Either way, though, being and banging bumpers coming out of the final few corners a couple of moments ago. These drivers still giving us some good battles to talk about. They're still side by side in reference of Ferrata and Ortega, heading down the back straightaway off into turn number 3 and 4 right now. Looks like Ferrata going to get that move done to slip his way up into 3rd in that 09 truck. Jeffrey Maconi still leading this race over Curran and P2. Ferrata, as I just mentioned a couple of moments ago, rounding at your top 3 as it stands at the present moment, looking at some battles going on all throughout this field, and mentioning the fact that Curran dropping down into 2nd. He's now fallen back into the crutches of Ferrata for 3rd.
Yep, it seems like the top guy here, Maconi's just like making sure he's got a good gap here, but the 2nd place and 3rd and 4th and 5th, all of them are battling for position side by side. Nobody's really riding in that position, but we got a run here from Alexander Ortega. Now he's running in 4th at the moment. They're side by side still for the 2nd place spot with Michael Curran. And oh, hang on to her. We got a little loose. Ferrata just almost lost it. Now here comes to the bottom of Ferrata. Ortega trying to make a move. A little bit of a sidewinder there, trying to spook him a little bit. It seemed to have worked a little bit because that outside line is going to give him the momentum, and Ferrata will be able to hang on to that 3rd place spot. But as we're talking about this, guess what? Curran, he has caught the leader, and we'll see if he's able to make a move. He goes down to the bottom in turn number 1 for the lead, side by side as they head through 2.
Yeah, side by side between the two drivers that have spent a decent chunk of this race up towards the front. I think Brendan Argino had a moment a couple of moments ago. He was dropping down the running order, now running in P15. Maconi withstanding that challenge for now. However, these drivers starting to experiment with the lines. That's the thing when it comes to the old version of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Second tries the charm there. You can run many different lines around here. You can run up towards the wall. You can run right by the apron. You can run the middle ground. There's a lot of different spots that you can try and find some grip around this racetrack. When these tires start to wear, you're going to see these drivers start to get a bit more experimental in where they place these trucks.
Just like that, more battles for the lead. Down to the bottom, that's Michael Curran trying to make it on the bottom with Maconi on the top, and we got a new challenger. Here comes Ferrarda. He's looking in the middle. He's trying to go 3 wide there for a second. He thinks better of it, I think, as they head down into 1. It looks like still Maconi's got the advantage, but you got to remember, look at the lap times. It's already, Maconi just ran a 31.25, and at that speed, that's almost an entire second slower than what we were running in qualifying. So these cars are already losing a ton of speed, but they're all losing it together. So it's not something that's going to particularly hinder them, as it looks like that second place position now has clearly been given to Ferrarda as he's sideways through that tri-oval, trying to hang on to the thing into turn number 1, single file throughout the top 10.
Oh, and as we see that Curran maybe trying to get moved on Ferrarda coming out of turn number 1 and 2. Look at that. That's some close quarter stuff as Ferrarda tries to get moved on Maconi. Not close enough. They're single file heading out into turn number 3 right now. Ferrarda, though, in that 09 truck, certainly the center of attention thus far. He has been bringing the action thus far in the first 12 laps of this 80-lap race. It's been a clean start. I shouldn't have even said that. I think I managed to
got the outside.
Side by side. Maconi and Ferrarda on the outside line, heading down into 1 and 2. Look at that. Curran maybe trying to make it 3 wide, heading through the corner. Look at that. Maconi slideways, heading through turn number 2. That could have ended in tears as we have a blinker a little bit farther in the back. And Ferrarda jumping into the race lead as Maconi drops down to 3rd.
First lap's led here by Ferrarda, but looks like that he's hanging on to really well. But the problem is now is I think Maconi may have burnt up his stuff. We have a car there on the apron we're looking at right now. That's in the back of the field, not something we necessarily need to worry about. I don't believe that we have any caution on the track. They are still under green, single file for the front 5, but they have moved up the track significantly. We have now Ferrarda, who's running that top line pretty religiously at this point, trying to get a little bit of a side draft in the wall, trying to make sure he's able to stay off of it, but still be able to carry a huge run off the corners, and it seems like that's making him scoot away from the field. But how long can his tires last doing that? I think that might cause some issues in the long run. They're battling right now currently for the third place spot, correction. We got Braxton DeWeese. He has not been talked about much so far in this race. He's being pushed by Alexander Ortega down the backstretch. He was to the inside of Maconi for a split second there, but it looks like that the battle for the lead is starting to heat up once again. 26 gaining some ground on Ferrarda.
These drivers really getting caught out by the red mist in the early stages of this race. You bring up a very good point, Kirk, talking about these drivers and the tire management, which is oh so important around a racetrack like this. But screw tire management. These drivers are trying to put on a good battle and battle for the prizes at the end of this night of racing action. 16 laps on the board of this 80-lap race thus far. Been a smooth running for these drivers. However, they've been battling tooth and nail, scraping and clawing for every single position they can get at the present moment. Still the top 3 covered by about a second, but Jeffrey Maconi dropping back a teeny tiny bit. Some side-by-side racing going on, though, between these drivers that we got on screen at the present moment. That right there is a number 29 truck of Terry Henry and Justin Osterman trying to get some moves done on each other. They're side-by-side heading off into turn number 1 and 2 right now. This is real tense between these drivers as we go back to the front of the field and find these racers getting involved in a battle yet again. This is Jeffrey Maconi dropping back down to 3rd. He's got himself, Braxton DeWeese, and Alexander Ortega. So Jeffrey Maconi maybe deciding to save up his tires as Braxton puts a move on him to slip his way up into 3rd. Maconi maybe overstressing those tires and overclocking it a little bit in the 03 car.
He did definitely in the first handful of laps, and he's already loose. He's starting to lose a couple spots here and there. But though, something that I'm worried about here is Ferrarda. He's up here running the top line. He's been doing it lap after lap, and the top line definitely kills tires. It's not something that necessarily is going to save tires. The second place clips the wall. That's Michael Curran again in the wall. But they have scooted out to about a second ahead of third place of Braxton Deweese and Alexander Ortega. They have seem to have scooted away. We have most people are scooting up the track throughout the field, but they're all running higher up on the racetrack. Not many people have moved down to the bottom, and it's mostly because that bottom of the racetrack is a loosey-goosey. It really wants to make the car spin out, but the top seems to be preferred in turns 1 and 2, but in turns 3 and 4, I've seen a lot of people stay on the bottom.
And slowly starting to see these drivers begin to experiment in terms of what works best for their race truck. I nearly said what works best for their setup. All these drivers running a fixed setup, so every single truck in this field is just about the same. As that's a spinner on the back straightaway. Not entirely sure who that is dropping down the running order.
Matthew
Jeffrey
Powers,
Maconi,
yes.
I think that was Matthew Powers who had that moment. Jeffrey Maconi also running into some difficulties as well. He's dropped down to 10th as of late, so really bad turn of fortune for the driver, the 03 truck. Not sure if something is going on with him, but I think we'll take a look at a replay to see what happened to Matthew Powers. It hasn't brought a yellow as we're still clean in the first 21 laps of this race, but let's take a look at a replay to see what may have gone wrong with that truck. That was a couple of moments afterward. You could see the smoke getting kicked up in the air right after that incident happened. But here's Powers in that 77 truck. Wiggles a little bit coming out of turn number 2 and drifts up the track and gets that wiggle on, hits the wall. And more contact being made. That was Jamie Flowers that he hit.
No caution for that, but I will tell you, if you look at his wheel, you can see that he's doing these janky inputs. My guess is that he is currently trying to race this race on a controller. That most certainly is a telltale sign of a controller. And it's hard to race at Atlanta on a controller. It is very difficult. It's one of those tracks that you want to be able to have a steady wheel. You don't want to be going back and forth on it, as the top two are starting to gain on each other a little bit. That last time by, they gained about 0.03 of a second. They're getting closer together. So that second place car of Michael Curran is gaining up on him. But the rest of the field, they have really scooted out from the top. A third place car of Braxton Deweese is a second and just a little over a second back, and fourth is even 2.5 seconds back. So there's a large gap from the top two, and I don't know if this is going to be a short-term game, long-term loss, but it seems to be working for them at this current time.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers tackling this race and seeming to have some good results as it stands currently. This is Logan Wilson, who we're following right now in the number 76 truck. A very odd-looking truck, to be sure. Looks like the print that you'd see on a public bus as he gets way sideways coming through turn number 2. Still keeps it going in a straight line and keeps it in 5th. Not entirely sure how he managed that, but nevertheless, Vinny Tinkner trying to get that move done on him, heading down into turn number 3. Look at that, the number 12 truck slipping by, and he's going to get followed through by Carter Casey as well. Contact being made into the wall. And you can see that car picking up some air. Multiple cars getting involved in this. That has to bring a yellow out, and it does bring out the first yellow of this race. So 25 minutes on the board, and they came to blows. 25 laps on the board, my apologies. And it comes to blows heading onto that start-finish straight away.
Vinny Tigner, I believe Tigner. He tried to pull a slide job on him, I believe, and he came up the racetrack, and I guess that other car just didn't want to lift, and they essentially got put in the wall, and he came down, spun out on the front stretch, collected a couple cars. We'll see who is all involved here in just a moment, but definitely the first caution of the night, lap 26. That gives a chance for these cars to be able to, try and get some new fresh tires. They've been out there for a while now, to the point where they're running 33-second lap times, which puts them about 4 seconds off of what they started. So, 3 seconds off of what they started. So, we'll see what they're able to do when they come down pit lane.
And this is going to be a rather important yellow in the grand scheme of this race. And The pit stop's going to play a huge factor as this yellow is brought out. We're going to try and find a replay to see that drama. I just knew as we saw that 76 truck as sideways as he was coming out of turn number 2, the rear tires were probably worn down to the canvas. As here you can see, skidding wide, hits the wall, bounces off. There were like 4 or 5 times in which that number 76 truck damn near blew over. And look at that, more contact being made into the outside wall. Multiple cars. I think Jeff Maconi potentially got a piece of all of that. Looked like one of the Maconi cars. That was, rear end damage on Maconi. So really unfortunate for him to get a piece of that incident that happened well in front of him. But considering how close quarters the racing was and how sideways that number 76 truck was, I can't be too surprised. As we're going to take a look and see this incident from Jeff's perspective. And picking his way through the smoke, picks up a little bit of front end damage. Not entirely sure if that's going to affect him too badly or not. You could still see him loose heading through 1 and 2. It looked like the front right of that car was rather sad and then popped back into normal situation. So I'm not entirely sure if there is major damage on that 03 truck or not.
Well, the good news is for all of them is that they all have a fast repair. So that they're able to just say, hey, I need a new car. And guess what? They're going to get themselves a new car as long as they haven't wrecked already. Top 10 definitely have not. So good for them. They might be able to come down, or they might be able to just repair the damage they have and save that for a worse wreck if there is to be one later in the event. Looks like we got the 1 to go signal here at the line. They're going to start doubling up. And I think that it's going to be an interesting restart to see if that outside line will prevail or if it will fall back like it did in the initial start of the race.
And it should be noted that through this yellow flag cycle, we've had to have some drivers come down pit lane. The number 45 truck of Amy Crawford finds herself in the race lead come time for this restart coming up in a couple of moments' time. The lights are out on the pace car, so we will begin this race back underway in the not too far off future. Crawford actually, there you can see 28 laps spent on those tires. So chances are she's probably going to get chewed up and spat out come time for this restart. But hey, still worth a shot. She's going to be leading this race and marked as a lap leader. The real question is, will she be able to hang on to it heading down through turn number 1 into turn number 2? The chances of that happening are, I was about to say the chances of her being able to hold on to the lead are probably about as realistic as me getting struck by a meteorite while I'm on this broadcast. But who knows? I've seen miracles happen sometimes. Sure. So let's see how this works out for Amy Crawford.
She spun the tires.
Oh, she spun the tires. There we go. Look at that sideways, trying to get that car back up to speed. The green flag is out yet again, and the drivers are on their way. Amy Crawford already dropping down like a rock. Don't usually think about those tires being too bad, but when you have a bunch of drivers around you that are on those fresh rubbers, it's complete night and day difference. And Amy Crawford already dropping down well outside the top 10. I think outside the top 20 as it stands heading down into turn number 3. It's now Michael Curran in the race lead. Alexander Ortega slotted in P2, and Nathan Ferrada slotted in 3rd as it stands at the moment. Justin Bird occupying 4th, and Braxton Dweezil running in 5th as it stands currently. Looking at these drivers fanning out 2 and maybe even 3 wide in the not too far off future. Look at that, ripping the wall and running the high line. That's Nathan Ferrada. Look at that again. That moved up to slip his way up into P2. Maybe got to try and get moved on Curran. Heading off into 3 and 4. Not close enough to get the move done on the 26 truck on the inside line. But he's got to try and capture lightning in the same bottle twice. Trying to get that move done around the outside. Nearly coming to blows, though. That was close.
It sure was. They're side by side now heading down into turn number 1 again. The 26 is staying right there on that bottom. Michael Curran's just trying to hang on to this dang lead, but that car on the outside is doing really quick. Yeah, not quite. We had a lot of guys sliding all over this racetrack. It's just really loose. But the one thing I do want to mention is that person that stayed out, the odds of them staying in the lead lap longer than 10 laps is very minimal. They were losing 3 seconds a lap prior to this caution. She stayed out. That means that she will be lapped in 10 to 15 laps, guaranteed. So we'll see them back up here in the front of the field when that does cycle back. But it looks like that up front, Ferrada got the move done. He's up in the lead now, taking over Curran. And the only battle we have on the track right now is the battle for 4th. Look at the 8 car. He just dove it in there. That's Braxton DeWeese trying to make a move on Justin Bird. Side by side out of turn number 4. Racing each other pretty clean. I don't know if they want to make it 3 wide here, but they are... looks like they're thinking about it. Let's see if he does it. Yep, he goes to the top of the 28's, able to cut off the 8, so that way no 3 wide move necessary. Still side by side. Great racing to be able to hang on to it without hitting each other.
And they nearly hit each other coming out of turn number 2 a couple of moments ago, but the key thing is they did not. As this race quickly approaches the halfway mark already, it's Ferrada in the race lead. Of course, a lot of stakes in this race, $150 and a 3.3 foot tall trophy. We're not going to be using meters for the rest of this show, but it is 1 meter if anyone's curious. Here we go.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome, Kirk. Don't worry. As we see some side-by-side racing going on involving Jeffrey Maconi and Trenton Johns. That was for 15th a couple of moments ago, so not a lot of harm or foul done as a result of those drivers going side-by-side. We'll note Maconi Entertainment's own Jeremy Bricks slotted in P8 as it stands at the present moment. Jeremy and I used to work together on the Maconi Goat Locker Next Gen Cruising Classic series that you can catch here on Maconi Entertainment every single Wednesday night. But with that plug about as slick as 80 grit sandpaper notwithstanding, let's look at these drivers still going side by side a little bit farther back in that camera shot, but deciding that now is the time to maybe settle down a little bit.
The leader of the race still killing it on the top of this racetrack. Everybody else is running that bottom, not copying them at all. I mean, at this point, if I were in this field and I saw the leader of the race running the top, I'm like, yeah, I might want to try the top because it seems to be working for him. But something else to mention about this particular race that I find interesting is we were talking a moment ago about Jeremy Briggs. I actually just spoke with him prior to this race starting. He was sitting in one of the VC chats, and I thought I'd go down and say hi. Hadn't met him before, and I was talking about his paint scheme because I really liked it. He has this chrome number on the side of his car, chrome number 48. And he said it was inspired by Alex Bowman. He really enjoys that paint scheme, and he tried to make sure that his paint scheme he's running tonight has that same look. The battle for the lead here, though, is still staying pretty stagnant. They're not trying to make any huge changes, but I don't know when Ferrada's tires are going to give, but when they do, it's not going to be a good thing.
Yeah,
we got a yellow.
Not gonna be ideal at all, but we got a yellow at there on the racetrack, coming 37 laps into this 80-lap long race, and
Johnny Poston.
Let's see.
That's who it is.
Oh,
yep, that's the driver. We have a driver by the name of Johnny Poston that had slight contact. He was running in the 24th place position, and he was running with Trenton Johns in 17th. So the guy was a few laps down, but let's take a look here. Heading into the corner, they're racing lappers here. It's not necessarily guys that are racing for the lead here, but they come out of the corner, and there's a little bit of a pushing them down. It's even at the line. Everything looks fine and dandy here. 17 comes up the track and just was not... he probably thought the car on the outside was going to go up a little higher. That's Trenton Johns. He probably thought he was going to move up to the wall, but not super... great in terms of the damage there. I believe his engine has expired, and I'm not sure if he has a fast repair. So they're all coming down for pit stops now. Let's see what they do.
Ooh, and that was very touch and go with the number 26 truck trying to pull down pit lane. Of course, should be noted, in truck races and just NASCAR races, period, these drivers don't have a pit limiter at their disposal. So having to do it the old-fashioned style, looking down at the tack and keeping your fingers crossed that the NASCAR officials don't have their speed cameras out heading down that pit lane. Let's see who's going to be the first to get out of the pits, taking tires yet again, which in a race like this is super important. Don't even bother taking two. I think someone decided to take two, though. Look at that. The jump. Actually, no, that was not a jump. That was just out and away. No harm, no foul for the 09 truck who's been in the lead of the race for the past couple of laps. I thought that was a driver deciding to take two, but I think my senses proved me wrong there. Taking two tires of a race at Atlanta, usually not going to go down well at all, unless you're running the old low horsepower, high downforce package that the Cup Series ran a couple of years ago. You're gonna be screwed if you take two tires around here.
Yeah, that's correct to a point. I do believe that whenever you go out there and if it's like 5 to go, 4 to go, 3 to go, People get crazy during that time frame. Green, white, checkers. You know, if people come down, take tires, sometimes I like to stay out. We have somebody coming down pit lane again. That's the 10 car again of Kilbashian. He was pitting from 7th last time he crossed the stripe. This time he's going to come back down, and not sure exactly what the reason for it would be, but... Oh, he just got a black flag on entry, so Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that's probably some sort of black flag or something going on there, and yes, it is a black flag. That's unfortunate, nevertheless, but again, when it comes to these pit stops, stuff like that will happen from time to time. Now halfway through this 80-lap long race here for the Maconi Setup Shop Monthly Money Fast Fridays race. We're on NASCAR trucks at the 2008 scan of Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it's been a really hard-fought day of racing action up to this point. We've only had 2 cautions in the first 40 laps and had a really long stint of green flag running, and I have a feeling that these drivers are hoping to get this race back settled into some sort of groove. Got some fresh tires on these cars, except for the front 2. They decided to stay out, so this is going to be... sketchy yet again. We thought the we thought the number 75 truck restarting from the front on the last restart was sketchy. I have a feeling this is maybe going to be even worse, considering both of the drivers on the front row are going to be on some older tires. This is going to be actually our apologies. It's just Wilson. Wilson, though, getting off to a solid jump. The green flag's down. The drivers are back on their way, heading down into turn number 1. Ferrata on the outside line, actually getting the worst of the 2 drivers. Starts at number 26, jumping in front. These drivers fanning out 3 and 4 wide already.
Oh, he's loose.
Turn number 2, but look at and he's going to come back up to the track. Oh, he gets T-boned twice.
Yeah, he was just got loose. He got loose at coming out of turns 1 and 2, cold tires, and he spun right in front of the whole field. He had this. He was fast, bad fast, but now he's gonna. Let's take a look at it here. Here's a replay. He just got a he had a checkup, slight check. We had another guy almost spin and wreck as well who was running up front, but that's a hellacious hit. Not exactly sure. Can we look at it that from a different angle, perhaps something else, or because that hit seemed to be something that was unusual. I don't know why he slowed up so quickly. Look at this again. Here he goes.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. Heading down into turn number 1 and 2. You can see him hugging that apron. He also got off into it. And I think that's part of the reason why he got tripped up to start with, and then sending him around as a number 28 Xfinity truck that came in, just gave a small little tap to the back bumper, sent him around, added all sorts of cross up, did not lock it down, spears his way back onto the track. He nearly rolled it in that 07 truck. That was a huge hit. I think it was a 75 car there. You can see the 75 getting some airtime as well. Multiple cars coming to blows as a result of that collision. It was an unfortunate crash nevertheless, and that's going to kick off the second half of this race in rather unfortunate style for the drivers that got a piece of that accident. That's really, really tough for the driver of the 09 car, because Ferrata, he was quick all throughout the first half of that race. Then come time for the second, restarts at the front of the field, and then things immediately go awry.
Yeah, exactly right. It's unfortunate for him. He's now heading back down into the pit lane. He just used his first fast repair and his only fast repair for this race, so he's going to still be in this for Ferrata. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to be able to get through this field, but he is the fastest car on track that I've seen race. But it's all about track position here. So being able to hold up front, Logan Wilson has impressed me. I did not expect him to stay in the lead. But then again, he only had to hang on to it for a couple corners. So it's not like it was crazy as, it's not like he had to go out there and lead a whole lap. He got very lucky at the time of that caution, and he hopes that happens over and over and over again, so that way he can, let everybody else burn their tires up on the restart, so that way they can at least even out. We'll see what they choose to do. As it looks like we're coming to the 1 to go signal. What do you say we go through the top 10, guys?
Yeah, let's quickly go through the top 10 as we still have one more lap under yellow, the third yellow of this race. Logan Wilson in the number 76 truck, who we saw involved in an incident a couple of yellows ago, finds himself in the race lead. Starting on the outside of him for this restart is going to be Michael Curran. We have Braxton Dweez and Alexander Ortega restarting this race on the second row. We'll have Brendan Argino in 5th, Justin Bird in 6th. Justin Osterman will be joined on the 4th row by Vinny Tigner. And then we have Jeffrey Maconi and Carter Casey running at the top 10 as they will take the restart in a couple of moments' time. It's been a really good race up to this point. I have a feeling it is going to be a good one for sure. And we got a good schedule to look forward to here from Fast Fridays. The next one is going to be in about a month's time on March the 28th. Going to see some mini stock action from Bristol Motor Speedway. That's going to be Hornets. That's a race if ever you see one. And then for April the 25th, we'll have Xfinity action at Daytona. So that's going to be some real good racing action. Of course, they are publicly hosted sessions with the top 33, at least for this event, make it into the main show. So if you want to win some prizes and have a good night of racing action, how about you tune into these races? The green flag back at it, and the drivers back on their way into turn number 1. Logan Wilson getting off to some very good starts, surprisingly so, in that number 76 truck, heading his way down into turn at number 1 with the undisputed race lead. It's a dispute for P2, though, between Alexander Ortega and Michael Curran side by side, heading off through 1 and 2 right now. Some drivers fighting at 3 and 4 wide, a little bit farther in the back, but look at that Ortega trying to get that move done on Logan Wilson down the inside into turn number 3, trying to hug that inside line as Curran trying to hold his own on the outside. Not close enough to get that move done, but these drivers seeing this second half of this race now firmly underway. They're starting to risk it for the biscuit. They're breaking the elbows out and going for some moves that they probably would not have done a matter of about 25 laps ago. 3 wide out, contact being made. There goes the 76 truck, sideways, slideways. He saves it, and I have no idea how the hell he did that.
They're green. They're staying green. 28 still trying to hang on to that car. I think he's able to. I don't see anybody around. I see some folks that have lost a lot of time. That makes the leader, Michael Curran. He scoots away now with the second place, Braxton Deweese at the highest point of in the race so far for him. That was a wreck that didn't happen. Like, it's amazing that nobody really got, turned around or came back up into the track. Great job by the drivers to hang on to it, but now that was a 3 wide move going in the middle, and unfortunately it got tied off the corner and then sent some folks around. We got a guy in the wall here off of turn 4. That's the 5th place car. That was a hard hit. That was Amy Crawford. Somehow Amy has recovered from when she stayed out on old tires, but now she's running in the top 5. What a comeback.
Yeah, it shows you how hectic this race has been over the past, we'll say, about 30 laps ever since that happened. But look at this 3 wide action hang down into turn at number 3. These drivers giving us battles to talk about all throughout this field. Looking at one involving the race leaders, Michael Curran still leading over Braxton Dweese, Vinny Tigner running in 3rd, and Jeffrey Maconi making his way up into 4th. We noted that the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi, had dropped down to 10th not terribly long ago. He's made his way back up into the top 5, running in 4th as it stands at the moment. The 03 truck, he dipped off in after the first 10 laps, but I think come time for the last 10, he is still going to be a force to be reckoned with, the side-by-side between Kern and Dweese for the race lead.
I hear the Jaws theme as they're side-by-side right now. There was a driver who wrecked just a few minutes ago that has now cracked the top 5. That's Ferrada. He's back, and he is coming up to the front. He's going to get up there. I think he's going to have a little bit of ground to catch, but they're still side-by-side for the lead as they just now single file out. But he's got a little bit of ground to catch up again. Last time by at the line, he was about a second back. But with the way he's been driving, I don't anticipate that taking too long.
Yeah, not expecting that comeback to take any more time than it should. Noting the hard charger thus far in this race, Michael Rice in the number 54 truck up 19 spots where he started in this race. Tobias Matheson in the 75, not terribly far off either, which is a little bit surprising considering we saw Tobias Matheson not terribly long ago as a result of that backstretch wreck not terribly long ago in this race, ending up with all 4 wheels up off the deck. So the fact he's been able to put on a good show is rather impressive. Brendan Orgino, who you see on screen right now, the number 88 truck, is currently up 16 spots from where he started in this race. And Amy Crawford in the number 45 up 14 spots. So lots of drivers cutting their way through the field like a hot knife through butter. And hey, we still got 28 more laps of racing action left to go, and battles going on all throughout the field, mainly at the front. Braxton Dweese in the number 8 truck truck, as you see right now. He's marked as 41 on our tower, but he's in that 8 truck on the inside of Michael Curran, heading off through turn number 4 right now. This is close quarter stuff, battling for the race lead.
They sure are, and within the time frame of just a few laps, now we got the battle for 4th here. That is the 09 car, who is now up to 5th, and he is still trying to drive that top line, making it work. But the top 5 have all single filed out. They're going to race each other pretty hard here for the end of this race, but they're all within the same group.
And as we continue to see these drivers battle at the moment, look at that, them nearly going 3 wide, a little bit farther in the back. This is some close quarter stuff around this track, and you can clearly see the fact that as this race develops and as these drivers get a little bit farther into their stint, you get to see them skid around the track a little bit more. These trucks have gone from being planted down on all fours to basically being like a declawed cat trying to climb up an igloo. These cars are skidding around the track like there is really no tomorrow. They're fanning out, trying to find all sorts of lines to try and find any sort of grip around this cheese grater of a racetrack.
Yeah, I see wall bangs every few corners. They're side by side for the lead, but we'll see if he's able to make the pass this time. Slide job up the hill. He's going to put his nose right there. Look at that. They're side by side in the wall. Oh. He's in it, and he's stuck in the wall. He's going to have to get out. That eliminates Braxton DeWeese from the contention of probably winning this race unless we get another yellow. But the leader still is Curran. After that's a failed slide job is what I believe we're going to call it. Top 4 still now all together. Battle for the lead. Here comes Maconi to the inside for the lead. It looks like he's got it, but the outside line. Here it comes back on the outside. They're going to be even as they head down the back.
And there they go. It's a drag race down the back straightaway, heading off into 3 and 4. Let's see if Maconi in that 03 truck is going to try and get the move done to slip his way back up into the race lead. We saw Maconi giving some of the lead drivers hell earlier on. It's looking like a case of deja vu yet again in this race. Not going to get done, though, slipping into P2, which, hey, not a bad result to find yourself in at all. But for the boss man, I'm sure there's one more position that he would like to gain between now and the checkered flag. This race still going on as there's a yellow out on the course. This, I believe, is the 4th of this race. I think we may have a little bit of beef forming involving the 45 and the 38 there as they get very close to making contact through 1 and 2. But the yellow back out yet again.
Yep. Looks like we got another caution there. We're going to go ahead and try and see what the cause of that particular incident is. It didn't look officially apparent out of the gates. I didn't see any. I found it here. It looks like it is going to be the 51 of Jenny Flowers heading out of turn number 2 on lap 53. It was a single car spin. He was running the top. He got a little loose. They got a little loose, and then they just slid downhill and hit the apron, spun right back up into traffic, causing the yellow.
But here we go. We got a round of pit stops. This may be the money stop in this money race for these drivers. Let's see who's going to be out and away first and be able to sneak away with the race lead. We don't have a lot of time left to go in this race. And if it stays green all the way up until the checkered flag, this may be it. Who's that going very quick down the pits? Either they just picked up a drive-through for speeding on entry and just ran straight through pit lane, or they decided to not take tires in that stop, which probably not the ideal strategy at a race at Atlanta for sure. But the 26 truck out and away. I believe they're going to be exiting out in second, as it stands currently, of the drivers to make it through pit lane last time by. Jeff Maconi does slip up to net P2, I believe, as these drivers still running at the front of the field. These drivers at the front of this field, as it stands currently, have spent a decent chunk of this race in the exact same spot. Not to say that there hasn't been any battling. There has been battling, and there have been movers and shakers, but the drivers at the front of the field have just about always been there. I'm trying to figure out the best way I can describe it. They've been perennial front runners ever since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, the entirety of the top 5 started within the top 10. There's nobody that is, that started outside the top 10 running in the top 5 right now. But if we look at the top 10, there's someone here that started in just outside the top 10. Let's see as they cross the stripe to make sure I get this correct. We just had someone, Jax Duval. He just crossed the stripe. He started in the 14th spot, but guess what? He is restarting on the outside line, 4th place. So that pit stop cycle worked out great for him. Jax Duvall's going to start on the outside here. And from a 14th place spot, he is now going to be restarting 4th on the outside of a car that loves the outside, which is Ferrada. I'm not sure if he's able to hang on to it, but it is phenomenal to see that Ferrada to be able to get back up front again, starting in the 3rd place spot.
These drivers, they've been dipping through the field, then making their way back up, then dipping through and making their way back up. The seesaw motion for these drivers has certainly been going on, and there's still a decent chunk of this race left for some more side-by-side racing, as we've been expecting ever since the drop of the green flag, and as we certainly have gone ever since the drop of the green flag. We're also getting to crunch time in this race. These drivers looking to win some pretty sweet prizes, and I'm sure they're going to be breaking the elbows out and punting their grandmothers out of the way to try and get it done. But here we go, heading down to take the green flag yet again. The green flag out, and the drivers are on their way. The number 26 getting off to a flyer yet again. That inside line just having the dream restart every single time, Kirk. I'm not sure what it is, whether there's some extra VHT down there or what, but that inside line has just been the indomitable line on every single restart we've had.
Yeah, the bottom one is always preferred whenever you come to restarts at Atlanta. They're starting to get 3 wide here for second. Here they come through the corner here. It's going to be a little tight. He hangs on to it. We're looking at a battle of 3 wide here. Back here, this is for about 10th place position. In the middle there is Amy Crawford, and around goes Amy Crawford into the wall. That's going to bring out a caution. Oh. I see 3, 4 cars spinning. Oh, that was cool. I ain't going to lie, that was pretty cool. He flying up in the air, just going backwards, man. Looks like the old what is that car? I have to look that up, but yeah, it looks like that old TV show that had the Confederate flag on top of the car. What was that called?
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. That it looked like Dukes of Hazzard, but in reverse. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I gotta say, years ago, I remember watching videos from, I guess it's NASCAR Man 2003. Actually, no, it's like TNT Man 93, I think is the name of him. He used to play on NR 2003 and put together old videos. I remember he used to do some stuff with like the Dukes of Hazzard theme in those videos. I distinctly remember watching those videos as a kid when making Christmas cookies. So some odd memories that pop up in reference to NASCAR. I don't know why. It said Dukes of Hazzard and just went on this long, low menagerie talking about making Christmas cookies. But that was, I gotta say, overall though, I mean, it's slightly out of time. It's like, I don't know, 10 months removed from the winter, from the Summer Olympics last year. Definitely less than that. But that was a gymnastics move heading off through 3 and 4. I'm not sure how in the world those drivers were able to have that happen, but let's see the 84 truck and their perspective on all this, because that was the one that we saw flying, hitting that stopped car on the barrier and just ramping their way out. That looks like a scene that you'd see in Monster Jam more than the NASCAR Truck Series.
Yeah, right here. Let's take a look at it. So he's running backwards, and then he just ramps right over, like bop, bop, just goes right over. 45 tried to do it, didn't work, and now we got the ticker, the what do they call it? The pylon in the way. Looking at some lovely sponsorship there, but let's see from the onboard. This is gonna be kind of nuts.
There you can see the contact. The 45 truck nearly blew over, hang down into turn number 1. The 84 car making the contact with the 45. I think we nearly had a case of deja vu with the 45 truck ramping up onto the front bumper of, I'm not sure who it was that they came to blows with, but it was the 84 and 45 making contact into the corner that kicked off the incident. But either way, stealing the show is the 84 truck with that round of aerial acrobatics heading off into turn number 1. Not sure if he could do that move in a million years with some of the aerial acrobatics we've seen thus far in this race, Kirk. I have a feeling these trucks, I don't know, they're made out of feathers instead of steel. They're made out of feathers instead of steel.
Nah, it's just the physics in this particular simulator. Once you get a car on top of another and you got momentum on your side, you turn into a rocket ship. It's just what it is. But it's all right. We're about to get the one to go here. Again, running through your top 10, we got Michael Curran, Ferrada sitting in second, Maconi in third, Tigner running in fourth with Argenio, I believe, running in 5th with Casey, Matheson, Bird, Osterman, George, and Henry. Round out your top 11. I went 1 too far, but that's all right. Terry Henry running in 11th. See if he's able to pass a handful of cars and get up to the front. The biggest mover so far that I'm looking at, well, not necessarily the biggest mover, but the one I'm impressed with is Brendan Argenio. I was really surprised because he started 23rd. Now he's running top 5. That's a pretty good run. Also, Tobias Matheson went from 29th to 7th. Also a great run. A little more cars passed for him. We're coming to the restart through turns 3 and 4. And that inside line is going to have a big old advantage. We'll see if he's able to, the outside line, who has been having rough restarts all day, Ferrara, see if he's able to make it work for him as we come to the green.
I think the only time that we've seen that outside line get the better jump was when the number 45 truck restarted this race from the lead with some very old tires. So let's see if they're going to continue on that streak of the inside line, getting a better restart. There we go yet again. Michael Curran in that 26 car has been the restart maestro thus far in this race. He's been getting off to flyer after flyer, lap after lap thus far in this race, and clearly proving that yet again as this race enters its final few stages. Let's take a look and see the side-by-side racing nearly 3 wide, heading on 3 wide into turn number 3. Maconi in the middle, bumping the number 26 truck on the outside of him. That could have ended in tears. And Nathan Ferrada making the moves up there, still side-by-side, heading down in through the trioval. Maconi and Curran side-by-side, heading off through that section. Side-by-side racing going on involving Vinny Tigner and Brendan Argenio. These racers giving us a good battle to talk about, but Ferrada, he has just been an indomitable force thus far in this race. He's been spending a decent chunk of it at the front, and there you can see some side-by-side and some sideways action heading all through turn number 3 and 4. It's now Curran trying to get that move done around the outside of Ferrada, and look at that 12 truck of Vinny Tigner. We haven't really talked about him thus far in this race, but he's really making up the ground as this race enters the final 14 laps.
Maconi, everybody's getting loose. They're beating and banging out there in the back for about 7th place spot there. They're trying their best to hang on to it, but I do got to commend the move that Ferrada had as he made it 3 wide there. He went from 3rd to leading the lap in just 1 move, which was brilliant. But ever since that happened, we have Tigner now helping the 26 on the outside. He was able to get the job done. And I guarantee you, and if that 12 doesn't hang up to that top, then that 07 will most certainly try to get him up on the top end. So he's got to make sure to defend that top lane the best he can. But new battle for 3rd. This is something I've been talking about. We got that 88 car who, Brendan here, he has been running from the back and now all the way up here to the front. Still some cars in the wall in the back. They don't spin. They hang on to it. But that 88 car looks really nice. I love that paint scheme. Really golden looking. Very nice. Reminds me of an old Brad Keselowski set, paint scheme from back in like the early Nationwide Series days when he first started racing in the 88 car. But still a great showing. He's running in the top 4 now, trying to get some ground going. But still, Curran has been in control of this race since the start. With the exception of when Ferrara tries to come in and bother him, which it looks like it might happen here soon as he's making a move for 2nd down to the bottom. He's got it. Looks like the 12's going to have a run. He's going to have to lift side by side out of 2.
And there you can see those drivers nearly coming to blows heading through turn number 2. Tigner jumping his way up to P2. Ferrada slipping back down to 3rd, now falling into the crutches of Brendan Argenio in the 88 truck as well. As much as Curran's been quick, I think Vinny Tigner in that 12 truck is peaking at the right time. We haven't really talked about him ever since the drop of the green flag, but he is flexing his muscles when it is time to pounce. Look at that. Ferrada trying to pounce on him, heading through around the outside. Contact being made into the wall. Contact around multiple cars ending up in the barrier of the 88 car. That's a huge one. 38 truck getting a piece of that action as well. The 88 truck somehow got through that without any major incident. But 10 to go. The yellow coming out yet again.
The entire field, there's only 2 cars on the front stretch that did not get involved in that, Maconi and Curran. Everybody else was involved in that particular incident. I see maybe 8, 9 cars going around there. Crazy incident. We're going to have to pull up that replay to be able to see exactly what happened. Let's take a look here. It looks like they go through the tri-oval. Everything's fine. Outside line, that is the guy we've been talking about all race, trying to make a move on the outside, but I think he's going to get up and inside the wall, and he just can't get off of it. He gets stuck in it. He loses ground, makes contact with a couple with the 88, and the 88 is going to take heavy front end damage. Just barely clips the end of that safer barrier as cars are spinning around. Well, the Tide car missed the 92, so I'd say maybe about 7 cars involved, and all of them are running in the top 10.
Multiple cars, multiple fast cars, mind you, going to get taken out as a result of all of that. The real important question is, though, how's this going to shake out in terms of pit stops? I think, unless I'm very much mistaken, we may have just seen Michael Kern make that call to come down pit lane. Jeff Maconi now finds himself in the race lead. I wonder where Kern is as it stands at the present moment. Where currently is Kern? He's down in the pits in the number 26 truck, so I'm going to ask you this here,
strategy.
Kirk. What do you think of this call from him to come down pit lane?
I am always hesitant when you make a move like that. It depends on who's going down with you. And unfortunately, he was the leader. The phrase is, you danged if you do, danged if you don't. So at this point, he had to come down, and nobody went with him. So now he's sitting at the back of this field. I believe he is currently... let's see. Actually, I don't think he's too far back. He's actually going to be in a good position here. He's going to have fresher tires than everybody else, but we haven't really gone too far, so it's not going to be that giant of advantage, but it's still going to be something that would be beneficial to him. We have, let's take a look here. You can look at the 7th on back have taken tires. Everyone else has been out there for at least 10 laps, with the top 4 all being 16 laps ago. So it actually might be a huge benefit, but the majority of those laps, again, were taken under caution. So it's not going to be a terrible idea to do what he did. I think he's going to be able to... he's going to have to drive the wheels off his dang thing to be able to get to the front. But we'll see if the leaders with the old tires are going to be able to hang on. We got Tobias Matheson, who started in 29th. He is going to be starting on the outside of the front row. He has a chance to win this thing. And remember when I said the entirety of the top 5 had all started within the top 10? Now, from 2nd to 6th, their starting positions are 29th, 16th, 20th, 27th, and 30th. After that big wreck, all those guys got taken out, and everybody else has just moved up into the top 10. And now it's going to be a mix of slower cars and fast cars, fresh tires, old tires. This is a recipe for something terrible, so I really don't anticipate this being a very long green flag stint. I don't anticipate this going green to the end, but we'll see what they do as they come off 4.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 laps to go in this 80-lap race, and let's see how it goes. The green flag back at the drivers back on their way as they fan out already. It's a war of the worlds with some old tired cars and some new tired cars looking to get some moves done on each other side by side with Tobias Matheson and Terry Henry heading off in big wreck, heading down. The 26 truck gonna get taken out in all of that. That is a big hit. Multiple cars ending up in the air, multiple cars ending up in the wall, but the at 1 point dominant race leader in this race gonna get taken out of all that. That is big.
Yep, I thought that was gonna happen. There is no way on God's green earth this was not going to be avoidable. They were 3 wide. Look at this restart too. People jumping out of line 3 wide, trying to make it 4 wide. A yellow car there, trying to get everything they can get on this restart because they're trying to go for big bucks. $150. Heck yeah, you're willing to do whatever it takes. But they're squeezing that guy 3 wide, sends him up into the hill, collects 4 cars, 5, 6 more. They're all around, sliding into each other, hitting each other pretty dang hard. Some hard hits. Some get around and make it through. Others are going to be out of this race. That will do it for most of these cars that were involved in that incident, because the majority of the... Man, look at that. Just a lot of cars getting contact in that one. They're all around, spinning, collecting each other. Did not see anybody get up in the air and flip, but everybody stayed on the ground. So that was good, but still... you kind of saw that one coming. There was no way with that many cars on old tires and that many cars on fresh tires that there was going to be anywhere near a clean restart at that point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but considering all of the circumstances surrounding that, the fact that you had, what was it? I think the top 6 or 7 cars were at their own older tires, and you had the rest of the field behind, trying to fight for $150 and a nice tall trophy at the end of this race. Something like that, in the dying breaths of it, was definitely going to be a. It was bound to happen at some point. There is no question or shadow of a doubt. As a result of all this, though, Jeffrey Maconi now finds himself in the race lead. Terry Henry is slotted in P2. Tobias Matheson will be restarting this race in third as it stands currently. Erlich George will be restarting in the number 40 truck in fourth. And Braxton Dweez going to round out your top 5. I'm still going to keep my eyes on the number 12 truck of Vinny Tigner because we saw...
He's back. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I accidentally hit a key to refresh my browser there. So, true professionalism there, folks, here at Maconi Entertainment. I was mentioning Vinny Tigner. Yeah, he was peaking at a really good time, showing some pace and also showing the confidence to get some moves done. I'm still going to be keeping my eyes on that number 12 truck because I think with this race in the final few laps, he may be the one brave enough to make up a couple of spots on this last lap. That's who I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. What about you, Kirk?
I'll be honest with you. At this point, anything could happen. It's the end of the race. We got everybody trying to get anything they can get. Right now, the only one that you could really root for is the one that's going to end up being on the bottom and the inside. Again, that just happens to be Maconi. He's up in the front, on the bottom, the preferred lane. He has still old tires, but with the amount of laps we have left, that ain't a problem. I ain't worried about it. They're going to end up wrecking again. If they really are trying to win this money, they're going to do some moves that may be questionable. We'll see what they do. We're heading down a backstretch into turn 3 and 4 now. It's actually surprising to see this type of race go on.
Yeah, and as it stands currently, yeah, sorry to budge in there, Kirk. I was just going to mention, as we're about to grab this restart in a couple of moments' time, we're going to be having a natural green-white checkered. However, if this fails, we will have 3 green-white checkered attempts at these drivers' disposal. But as a field fans their way out onto the start-finish straightaway, it's a first green-white checkered attempt. It's a natural green-white checkered, still within the 80 laps of regulation. Heading down into turn number 1, Jeffrey Maconi getting off to a flyer of a restart in that 03 truck. Tobias Matheson trying to get some moves done. A car going off the track. That, I believe, is Erlich George. Hopefully, he can rejoin without any major incident. Looks like he got away with that rather scot-free. These drivers not only racing to the checker, they're racing back to the white. Tobias Matheson trying to get a move done on Jeffrey Maconi on the inside line through turn number 3 and 4. Look at that. Braxton Dweez trying to get it through and make it 3 wide. Coming out of there, the white flag in the air. Only one more lap of racing action from this race, and it's going to be the next flag ending it. Let's see. Braxton Dweez on that inside line trying to get the move done on Jeffrey Maconi in that 03 truck. Look at that. The 8 truck slipping through, crashing farther in the back. Is that going to bring out a yellow to bring this monthly money race to a conclusion? Maconi in the back bumper to Dweez. Let's see. This is going to be a fight to the line between these two. Maconi getting a good exit, but it's not going to be enough. Braxton Dweez going to take the checkered flag here at Atlanta. He wins the money, he wins the trophy, and he takes a checkered flag here at Atlanta.
He did everything he needed to do. He got to the point where he was able to get past all those cars, and he's going to be taking on the big bucks. Oh, my gosh. You probably feel so dang happy for him. What a great drive. He was up front most of the day. He raced clean. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. I'd just say congratulations to Braxton Dweez doing the job he needs to do and taking the win away from Maconi, who comes back to finish in second. With Brendan Argenio rounding out your podium at this time. Here he comes on the front stretch. He's probably going to do a little bit of a nice old burnout. We'll see if he does it. There you go. He does some donuts here. I love seeing those.
Yeah, giving us some very good donuts to watch at the end of this race at Atlanta. The race being run all the way to 80 laps. Did not have to use any of those green-white checkered attempts. Braxton Dweez in that 8 truck is victorious at the end of this race in that Interstate Ford. We're going to take a brief little commercial break here, and we'll be right back with some interviews, some results, and to wrap up this monthly money race.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to this evening's coverage on Maconi Entertainment of the Maconi Setup Shop Fast Fridays monthly money race here at Atlanta. When everything is said and done, taking the checkered flag is going to be Braxton Dweez, but we'll be able to have a chat with him and some of the other finishers at the end of this race in a couple of moments' time. First, though, I think we'll take a look at the results when everything is said and done. Also getting official word from one of the admins, Orca driver, Mr. Brain Lester, and fellow commentator here at Maconi Entertainment, that Dweez has passed post-tech inspection. So fortunate for him, he didn't go the way of Parker Kligerman. Braxton Dweez, your winner at the end of this race. Jeffrey Maconi going to finish right behind him, P2, only a tenth of a second between those two drivers right at the line. Brendan Argino ran at your podium in third. He tried to go for a move and a pass in the grass coming right to the line, so that was real tense in the dying breaths of that race. Tobias Matheson going to be classed in fourth. Alexander Ortega ends up in P5. Whitney Tigner going to be finishing in sixth. Justin Osterman ends up in seventh. Jax Duval, who I don't think we talked about at all throughout this race, that's of his aerial acrobatics in that number 84 truck, will finish in eighth. Terry Henry in ninth, and Stephen McGough rounding out your top 10. So that's how it looks in the top 10. We'll quickly buzz through the rest of the results as we see the drivers who ran into some difficulties outside of Ehrlich George, who had a really tough go of things on that final restart. The top 16 finishing on the lead lap. George ends up one lap down, and then the rest of the drivers, including the out 1 point dominant leader of Ferrata, all ending several laps down at the end of this race. So those are your results at the end of it. I think with all of that squared away, we can move on into some interviews to get the end of this show underway and award some good prizes in the process. So we're going to bring in our P3 finisher of Brendan Argino, work from the back to the front. Mr. Argino, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth. Well done on the P3 result. How about you talk us through this action-packed race at Atlanta?
Yeah, it was a wild race from the start to the end. I messed up on my qualifying lap, tapped the wall, ended up starting a lot worse than I wanted to, but was able to move my way through the field, and probably just needed one or two more laps there at the end. I think I had fresher tires than Maconi and Dweez, but overall really happy with the P3 result.
Yeah, I can imagine you are pleased, especially considering the hornet's nest of the field that was taking to that final restart, a natural green-white checkered. So I want to ask you about how much of a pressure cooker scenario it was coming to the checkered flag in this race.
It was very pressure filled. I mean, I knew I had to kind of get a run on those guys coming to the white flag. Starting on the inside, I felt a little trapped. I think starting on the outside would have been a little bit better, but overall it was just really tight racing the whole way. If you got loose a little bit side by side, it was going to cause a wreck, and I think we saw that happen a couple of times, but I was able to keep the truck going straight and ended up P3.
Yeah, worked out very well for you at the end of this race, man. And thank you so much for joining us in this commentary booth. But before we let you go and kick off the rest of your evening, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Super big shout out to Jeff Maconi. He has me on as a sponsored driver and for putting on this whole event. And also shout out to my parents who helped me get into iRacing. I really appreciate all of them.
Awesome, man. Hey, well, congratulations on the P3 result, and hoping to see you back on track for the next monthly money race in about a month's time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
And that right there was Brendan Argino, your P3 finisher at the end of this race. We're going to bring in the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi, our P2 finisher at the end of this race. Jeff, welcome into the commentary booth. So close at the end, only a 10th between you and the winner, but still a really hard-fought show from you tonight.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I knew as soon as I got that start, I was like, okay, it's 2 to go. I can do this. I had a great launch. And then, first lap goes by. I'm all good. I'm like, all right, this is mine. I got this. And I look up in my mirror and I see the paint scheme from Braxton. I went, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. He was the one guy behind me that I don't think I knew I wasn't going to be able to beat. I mean, Kurhan, he's really good, but I saw that he had an issue on the restart, and so I was like, okay, this is my race to win as long as it's not Braxton behind me when I exit turn 4 on the last lap, or the second to last lap, and that's exactly what it was. So I sort of knew going in, and then I tried to run it high on the first lap, and or on the last lap, excuse me, in turns 1 and 2, but those fresher tires, he had me dead to rights, and it was a ton of fun. He won the Super Late Models at Five Flags, I think, for the December race, and he's really fun to run with. So I'm glad he won it because he certainly earned it. If I can't do it, I'm glad it was someone that really runs these races frequently and runs them well.
And I gotta say, Braxton gave us a really good battle to talk about between you and himself at the end of that race. So that was, I gotta say, honestly, from my perspective, that was a brilliant race to call, and hopefully it was a brilliant race to watch for other viewers tuning into this broadcast on Maconi Entertainment tonight. But Jeff, I'll let you take the floor and talk about the next monthly money race that we have coming up, those mini stocks running at Bristol.
Yeah, that's going to be insanity, and my good buddy Mike Wombold suggested it and was like, yeah, we ran something similar in real life last year and it was a ton of fun. And I was like, well, man, we gotta give it a go. It'll be a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. That's definitely going to be a lot of mayhem. Whoever we have on as the race controller is going to have their work cut out for them. I love these Fast Fridays races. They're a ton of fun. It's a great way for us to give back to the community a little bit, and I think Braxton is the first person to pick up 2 of the races, the trophy races. So I believe he'll be the first one to get both of them. And then we've got that end of March, end of April, we've got Xfinity at Daytona, and that's gonna be Xfinity at Daytona. That's gonna be crazy no matter what. So if you want to come out and run these, they're a ton of fun. We take the top 33 typically, and if you want to guarantee your starting spot, you sign up at MaconiSetupShop.com/Fast Fridays. Otherwise, you can qualify in on time if we don't get 33 people that sign up. But if you want to guarantee your starting spot and race for $150 cash and a giant trophy, that's the way to do it.
Always have to shout out how you can get started in these races. I gotta say, mini stocks at Bristol, that sounds like a chaotic race, but in the best way imaginable. And this feels like a rather odd question to ask, considering you are our boss here at Maconi Entertainment. But Jeff, I'll give you the floor and give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go.
Well, thank you to you guys for putting together an awesome show. I race in VR, so I couldn't watch it, but I was listening, and it sounded great. Thanks to Kirk for jumping in last minute. I know he's got a race to get ready for, so I appreciate him jumping in. Ron, you did a great job. Howie did an amazing job producing it. And so huge shout out to you guys. The whole Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Entertainment team's always always give me 110%. And I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I do without all of you guys. So I really appreciate it. Everyone on the truck, Movember, it's cool that I get to represent them here on iRacing with our yearly Saturday for the Boys race. I've still got that paint scheme rocking, and I love it. It's a ton of fun. Thank you to everyone that came out and ran Fast Fridays, and I hope to see you running the mini stocks at Bristol on March 28th.
And if I'm not a part of that broadcast, I'm certainly going to be tuning in because that just sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. But Jeff, thank you for the kind words and thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and well done on the P2 results.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And that right there was a boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi. And we got some more time to interview our race winner and a man who's $150 richer, along with getting another tall trophy. Braxton DeWeese joining us in the commentary booth. Braxton, congratulations on the win here at Atlanta. Talk us through a real barn burner of a race.
Yeah, it was a fun one to say the least, man. I mean, I could keep going on about honestly how fun it was. It's, you know, with it being 80 laps, it's not like a real sprint, but it kind of is. I mean, it still gives you strategy. So it, I consider a sprint. You don't really have to pit and don't have to worry about fuel or anything, but we had to worry about that. So we tried to worry about the fuel and trying to pit when we could. When cautions came out, we pit, and all the other people would usually pit. So, we were getting up there. We were running second. We were running right behind Curhan, and we threw an absolute dive bomb of a slider just to try it because I think I was gaining on him a little bit with a run, and I was like, you know what? I mean, I couldn't really get to his outside, and I couldn't really make the pass happen on the inside just being side by side with him. So I was like, with this run, we're going to try to send it. And it wasn't the smoothest slide job, and definitely got kabobbled there, and definitely didn't want that to happen. But that caution came out. It saved us. We were able to get the car repaired, be able to come back. A couple cautions helped us, and ultimately making the right strategy with going with 2 tires right there, and being able to make the moves to get to Jeff and take home the win.
Yeah, taking home that checkered flag, taking home $150 and a pretty awesome looking trophy as well. So I'm going to ask you, it's a complete night and day difference from this race here at Atlanta to the next money race at Bristol with the mini stocks. So are you maybe going to be a part of that race? And if so, what are your thoughts and feelings heading into that one?
Yeah, for sure. I saw it on the schedule and was like, whoa, that's definitely an interesting one. So, if we can make it happen like we did tonight with our league that we're about to run at 9 o'clock, then yeah, for sure we'll definitely run that. If we don't have any other things that come up beforehand or anything like that, we won't be able to. But right now, I'm planning on making that race and doing exactly what we are doing tonight with the 2 races. So that'd be awesome to have a good run there, and to get 3 would be incredible. But to have 2 already is something I wasn't expecting. So, we were half a car from getting 3 last month. That would have been our second one at Michigan with the Gen 4. But, to be able to go first, second, and first in the 3 Fast Fridays I've ran, and, you can't really ask much more than that, and I'm not going to. So, I appreciate everybody that puts this on. Jeff, everybody at Maconi Setup Shop, y'all for broadcasting at Maconi Entertainment. It's a quick one, but it's always a fun one, so I appreciate it.
I gotta say, from my perspective as well in the commentary booth, these Fast Fridays races are always so much fun to call. And Braxton, true professional with the interview, gave the thanks or shouts out before I could even ask you if there's anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out. But Braxton, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary booth. Congratulations on the win here at Atlanta, and hope to see you on track when the monthly money race returns with those mini stocks at Bristol.
Yeah, for sure we'll be there. I think we'll have another Interstate Ford mini stock, but I want to give a big shout out to Interstate Ford and a couple of the other sponsors real quick. I'll try to go through this as quick as possible. Like I said, Interstate Ford, Allen's Arts Images, 3 Dips Ice Cream Shop, Bennett's Publical, Jane's on Main, Dewey's Renovations, Adrenaline Captures, Booth 34 Diecast, Short Track Report, Scrub and Tires Media, Blaze Designs, Evan Pineda Designs, and Chance 3 Design Shop. I have 3 designers, and I race so much, so I can't just give it all on one guy. That's too much. And actually, we had a different designer today, Gradient Concepts of Ben Pierce. So big shout out to him, and also shout out to Bully Dog Coffee Company. You can use Brax5 for 10% off over there. Alrighty, I'm done. I appreciate it.
Hey, I gotta say, well done with the sponsor reads there. That was pretty slick there. But Braxton, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and well done on the win.
I appreciate it, Ron. Y'all have a good one.
You as well. That was Braxton DeWeese, your winner of this Fast Fridays monthly money race with the trucks at Atlanta. I want to thank him, thank Jeff, and thank all the drivers who decided to come into the booth to have a little chat with us. Also want to thank my booth mate who is not with us as it stands at the present moment. Kirk Mills came in very last moment to join me in the commentary booth this evening. Had to dip out a little bit early so he can get some practice time in for a race that he is running this evening. Also, want to thank the unspoken hero of a broadcast, Howie Burrows, doing all the work behind the scenes in the virtual production hauler to make this broadcast possible tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. That next running here of the monthly money race is going to be on March the 28th, and hope you can stay tuned for that, as well as all the action here on Maconi Entertainment, here to bring all of the action to life. But as for this broadcast this evening, I think that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Mullins, Kirk Mills joining me in the commentary booth, and Howie Burrows doing a fantastic job working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for watching this broadcast on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too